Year 117 AD. The Roman Empire is at its maximum expansion under the government of Emperor Trajan. From the sands of the desert in Syria to the cold banks of the Rhine, Rome imposes its law, its language, and its architecture. But this vastness does not stand alone. Millions of men serve in the imperial army, a well-oiled machine of discipline, power, and fear. In the far reaches of the empire, where Roman civilization meets barbarian lands, life is harsh, uncertain, and brutal. In this scenario, we will meet Gaius Marius Valerius, a veteran legionnaire stationed in a fortress in the German Limes. Through their eyes, we will live an ordinary day in an extraordinary life, a journey that will take us to the heart of the empire, to the soul of the Roman soldier, and to the pulse of history. Gaius Marius Valerius. He was not born a soldier. He was born a peasant in a dusty village on the outskirts of Capua. His father plowed the land for a landowner, and his mother spun flax. Like many young men with no clear future, Gaius enlisted in the army at the age of 18, not for glory or honor, but for bread, shelter, and the promise of Roman citizenship after 20 years of service. Now at 35, he is a veteran legionnaire hardened by time and war. It is parked in Old Camp, a military fortress on the border of the Rhine, where the empire touches the world of the barbarians. The days here are long, hard, repetitive, and dangerous. The climate is hostile. Humidity penetrates the wool layers, and the nights are freezing even in spring. But Gaius has found a routine here, a kind of home amidst the mud and discipline. Gaius belongs to the Legion 21 Rapax, a unit that has fought in Germany, Pannonia, and Dacia. Its shield bears the insignia of lightning, a symbol of Jupiter, god of the sky and war. Discipline is the blood that runs through the veins of this legion. Disobeying an order can cost you your life, not on the battlefield, but in front of your own companions, through a ritual execution called decimation. At his side we find Titus Flavius, a young and fearful recruit, who looks up to Gaius like a father. Titus is barely 20 years old, comes from Hispania, and still has an accent that gives him away in training. He is united to Gaius by a mixture of respect and need. The old soldier teaches him to sharpen his sword, to place his helmet properly, to not show fear, even if he trembles inside. It is also Lucilla, a freed slave who works inside the camp as a cook. Although he is not a military figure, his presence is constant. She represents a link to civilian life and to Gaius, more than just a friend. She knows the wounds that cannot be seen and offers the veteran a type of silent refuge without the need for words. Above all is the centurion Decimus Varro, implacable officer. Decorated after the Dacian campaigns, he is feared by men, but also respected. His voice is law in the camp. Laden with scars and with one eye clouded by an old wound, Varro represents the authority of the state, the voice of the Senate and the people of Rome on the frontier of the known world. All these characters exist under the same roof of leather and wood, between high walls, surrounded by lands that do not bend. Each one carries a past, a fear, and a hope. Everyone responds to the trumpets that mark the changes of the day. They all serve Rome, although in different ways. In this closed universe, the military camp functions like a miniature city. It has its temple, its hospital, its workshops, its prison, and its tavern. It is a world ruled by military order, the military order, where even the slightest mistake can mean punishment, and obedience is the only path to survival. Gaius has seen companions die, carried frozen bodies at night, burned enemy villages under orders, and yet he feels no hatred or passion, just a kind of professional resignation. He doesn't judge, he complies, and that has kept him alive. Today seems to be another day at the border. The horn has sounded at dawn. The sentry has been relieved. Soldiers prepare for morning training. But what Gaius doesn't know is that something is about to change, and everything will change. Gaius's journey begins before dawn. A low horn resounds in the gloom, followed by the metallic slap of hobnailed sandals on the cobbled floor. The light is scarce. Just a few torches illuminate the interior of the barracks. There are no words, just automatic movements, putting on the tunic, adjusting the leather belt, picking up the gladius. In the warehouses, the camp store, breakfast is distributed. Stale bread, a handful of legumes cooked the night before, and posca, an acidic mixture of water and vinegar that soldiers drink to purify the water and resist the cold. There is no room for enjoyment. Each bite is fuel to resist the rigor of the day. Stepping out into the central courtyard, Gaius feels the weight of the armor on his shoulders. He segmented lorica, that armor of metal plates, shines with frost. Wooden and metal shields line the wall. The centuries, blocks of about 80 men, form at the sound of the whistle. Centurion Varro walks down the line. His eyes do not forgive. "Straight, like columns of the Capitol," he shouts as he passes. "Rome looks at you, even here at the end of the world." The training is not symbolic. Each soldier runs loaded, practices formations like the turtle, the shield wall that turned Rome into a moving wall of steel. Practice javelins are thrown. Hand-to-hand combat is rehearsed with wooden dummies called line-up. The instructors do not hesitate to beat those who let their guard down with rods, but it's not all training. Between exercises, tasks are assigned. According to rotation, surveillance in the towers, cleaning latrines, cooking, weapons repairs. The camp must be kept like a clean and oiled gear. Gaius has 5 men in his charge. You must ensure that your weapons are in perfect condition and that no one neglects your position. Carelessness is not a fault, it is a betrayal. Among his tasks, Gaius goes through the sanctuary, the small military sanctuary. There he prays silently in front of the statuettes of Mars and Jupiter. He is not a pious man, but he has learned that, in war, even atheists offer prayers. He fixes his gaze on the stone altar. He asks for strength not to win, but to not falter. At the 6th hour, noon, the men return to the barracks. It's time to eat. Lucilla serves a thick soup with barley, salt meat, and garlic. Smoke fills the air. It is a pause in the midst of rigor. Some play dice, others sing obscene songs. Gaius, on the other hand, sits alone polishing his sword. Beside him, Titus tries to start a conversation. "How was your first battle?" asks the young man. Silent until it started, then just screams. And then silence again. Those words float as they both watch how a group of soldiers bury a comrade who died from fever. There are no ceremonies. An anonymous grave, a quick inscription on a wooden tablet. This is how glory happens. In the afternoon, Gaius accompanies his unit outside the wall. They patrol the nearby forest. There is always the risk of ambushes, but also the monotony of finding nothing. In silence, they observe the marks on the trees, the footprints in the wet earth. They are not hunters, but they behave like such. What we have learned in 20 years is not forgotten. Suspect first, ask questions later. Upon returning to camp, the sky begins to turn red. The cold intensifies. It's time for the final inspection. Weapons are checked, shields are counted, doors are reinforced. Centurion Varro passes the list of names. One is missing. He was a lookout in the North Tower. Nobody has seen him go down. The atmosphere becomes tense. Did he fall asleep? Did he escape? Was he murdered? The night offers no answers. Before going to sleep, Gaius sits by the fire. Lucilla approaches and offers him a jug of diluted wine. There are no words between them, just looks. In a world where tomorrow is not assured, any moment of humanity is a treasure. And while the sounds of the camp fade away little by little, a solitary trumpet marks the call of silence. Tomorrow everything will start again, or not. The next morning does not begin with the usual horn. It starts with screaming, alarms. The horn sounds late, choppy, as if the blower has been interrupted. Gaius leaps from his litter and lunges for his gladius before his mind understands what is happening. "To arms!" Someone outside shouts, his voice broken by panic. In the North Tower, the body of the missing lookout has been found, or rather parts of it. He is hanging from a stake, dismembered with ritual marks carved into his chest. It was not a quick death. It doesn't even clean. It's a message, one that everyone understands without the need for translation. Centurion. Varro summons the decurions in it begins the headquarters. His orders are clear. A state of total alert is declared. Nobody enters or leaves the camp. Patrols are doubled. The archers position themselves on the towers, and Gaius is assigned the task of leading a unit that must track the enemy in the forest. He knows it's dangerous. He knows that if they find something, they may not come back. Before leaving, Varro gathers the troops in front of the legion's banner, the Aquila, a silver eagle that symbolizes the presence of Rome itself. His voice is serious, ceremonious. This is not just a raid, it's a test. Not of strength, but of faith. They believe they will break us with fear. We will teach them what happens when the wolf is challenged. Gaius and his team, Titus among them, head into the damp forest, covered in thick cloaks, swords sheathed but ready. With each step, the silence becomes heavier. There are no bird songs. There is no wind, only the crunch of broken branches underfoot. After almost an hour of walking, they find the first of several war totems. Animal skulls hanging from trees, mixed with human bones, hanging like silent bells. Gaius feels Titus's pulse quicken. He puts a hand on her shoulder without speaking. There is no time to console, just to move forward. They find an abandoned village. The huts are intact but empty. The embers are still smoking. Someone was there recently. Too little. Inside one of the cabins, they discover a kind of altar with symbols carved in wood and fresh blood on the floor. Something more than war has been practiced here. There is a ritual component, a mixture of religion and violence that escapes Roman canons. Gaius spits on the ground, not out of disgust, out of rage. This is not a rebellion. It's a statement. Back at the camp, the atmosphere is more somber. Everyone knows that the Germans are testing their defenses, evaluating their mettle. They are enemies who know the terrain, who do not fear Rome, who fight like ghosts among the trees and disappear before being seen. In the afternoon, a messenger arrives on horseback from a neighboring garrison. He brings bad news. Another patrol has been wiped out to the south near the Danube. The pattern repeats itself. Mutilated bodies, ritual signs, open provocation. Varro summons all the men to the camp forum. The sky threatens a storm, but no one moves. The soldiers, more than 500, are grouped in perfect ranks, while the centurion raises his voice. The empire is vast, but fragile if its margins falter. Today they challenge us not only with weapons, but with symbols. They think we are just men. We will show them that we are Rome. Tomorrow at dawn we march, to clean this border with fire, iron, and memory. The cheers are weak. Some shout out of inertia, out of loyalty. Others remain silent. They know that many will not return. Glory in Rome is a statue. Here it is, mud, blood, and bones. But no one dares to withdraw. That night, the camp is a hive of activity. Catapults are checked, provisions are prepared, weapons are blessed. The priest of the legion sacrifices a lamb on the altar. The entrails are red. The omen is not clear. Some interpret it as a sign of caution. Others, like Mars, has turned his face. Gaius, for his part, cleans his sword as if it were an intimate ceremony. He looks at Titus, who is trembling, and says in a firm voice, "Don't think about dying tomorrow, think about killing. That's what they're going to do." Lucilla approaches him before he climbs into his bunk. He offers him a small amulet, a medallion, with the image of Minerva. He doesn't believe in gods, but he doesn't reject it. Superstition is part of the team, and as the storm slowly approaches from the west, the soldiers prepare for dawn. Not out of duty, not for conquest, but because, if they do not fight, they will die in another way. Forgotten, defeated, devoured by the border. Dawn does not come with light, but with shadows that creep through the thick fog. The marching column. It is formed to the rhythm of the drums. Hundreds of men line up in close formation, the first with shields in front, the next with spears, and the last with supplies and tools. The smell of leather, iron, and fear permeates the air. Gaius, at the head of his contubernium, keeps his gaze fixed. There are no speeches, there are no songs. Only the squeak of cars and the scrape of sandals against the wet earth. Beside him, Titus breathes quickly, as if each step were a countdown. They advance towards the forest where yesterday they found the symbols of death. But this time, they're not looking for traces. This time, they seek revenge. The first contact occurs at the edge of the river, where a column of smoke reveals a bonfire. Explorers report a Germanic tribe, possibly the Bructeri, has set up a mobile camp. It is not large, but it is protected by wooden palisades and ditches. Varro doesn't doubt it, order the immediate attack. The crash is brutal. Unlike the glorified war in Rome, there are no elegant strategies or battles with spectators here. It is scream, blood, and mud. Gaius charges with his shield raised, dodges a spear, drives his gladius into the side of a tattooed warrior who falls without a whimper. Around him, the Roman formation resists chaos. It is their greatest strength. Where others fight as individuals, they fight as one. Titus wounds an enemy, but does not finish him off. The German turns around and hits him with a mace. Gaius arrives just in time, spears the attacker, and drags the young man back. He doesn't say anything. He just pushes him against a tree and yells, "Don't think, take action." The fight lasts barely half an hour, but it seems like a century. When it's over, there are corpses everywhere, and the German stockade burns like a torch in the fog. The few captured prisoners are executed by order of the centurion. A clear message: the border is not a place for forgiveness, but victory has a price. 20 Romans have died. 15 others are injured, among them Titus with a broken arm and a wound in his thigh. The young man does not complain. He just grits his teeth as Gaius loads him onto a cart back. At the camp, the reaction is mixed. Some celebrate with wine and shouts of victory. Others, like Gaius, just clean their sword in silence. He knows that this skirmish has not ended the war. He knows that there are dozens of tribes beyond the river, all with hatred, all with memory. Lucilla tends to Titus's wounds in the makeshift infirmary. While suturing him, he asks, "Do you understand now? What thing?" That here the gods do not hear, only death listens. In the forum, Centurion Varro leads a brief ceremony. The weapons of the fallen are placed in a pile. The priest throws incense, the aquilifer waves the banner, and the name of each dead is shouted to the sky, as if that would prevent oblivion. But as soon as the ceremony ends, the bodies are buried in a common grave. Rome does not sing elegies to its soldiers. Rome advances. Meanwhile, rumors grow. Some soldiers talk about a tribal alliance between the Bructeros, the Cheruscos, and the Tencteros. Others mention a Germanic leader who is unifying clans with fiery speeches and a bloody axe. They say he is not afraid of Rome, who has learned their methods, who uses the same discipline in his troops. Varro secretly summons the officers. Gaius is called to that circle for the first time. The centurion looks at him seriously. "You've seen more campaigns than anyone here. What do you think?" This was not a raid. It was a survey. They wanted to see how we responded. And we responded quickly, but not enough. Varro nods. He takes a leather map, marks new patrol routes, and gives an order that no one expected. "We will fortify the camp. Double wall, trenches, and tonight triple surveillance. They won't sleep until I say so. If they look for a war of attrition, they will have it." In the shadows of the camp, the soldiers murmur. The tension is palpable. Some talk about deserting, others of suicide. Gaius observes everything with the calm of someone who has already experienced the worst. But even he feels something different this time. It's not fear. It is the suspicion that this border, this forgotten corner of the world, is becoming the place where Rome starts to bleed, and inside, something moves. A feeling he hasn't felt for years. A mixture of purpose, and doubt. The night falls with an unusual silence. There are no songs, no dice, no laughter. Only the footsteps of the guards changing shifts, the murmurs of the wounded, and the creak of moving carts fortifying the outer wall. Rome, even on the border, clings to its order like a shipwrecked man to a board. But the enemy does not sleep. At the hour of the third watch, when the fog once again embraces the earth and the sky closes without a moon, the unthinkable happens. A horn sounds from the east, followed by another to the north and then one more from the south. They are not Roman horns, they are signs of war. In 3 directions, coordinated, prepared. Rome is not the one who attacks. It is the one under siege. Gaius launches himself out of the barracks and climbs the earthen wall. What he sees chills his soul. Shadows moving through the mist, dozens, perhaps hundreds, burning torches in the distance, ropes thrown against the palisades, flaming arrows crossing the sky. "To arms! To the towers!" he shouts as he draws his sword. The attack is not chaotic, it's methodical. First they launch projectiles to disperse, then they assault the weak points, the south tower still unreinforced, the east gate without a complete trench. The sentinels fall one by one, some without even time to scream. Gaius runs to the gate, where a makeshift battering ram begins to hit the timbers. With 3 men, he manages to box the logs with barrels and locks. The enemies shout words in a guttural language, loaded with hatred. And among those screams, a voice stands out, clear, powerful, almost theatrical. "Rome falls," screams a man in front of the assailants, tall, covered in a wolfskin, with a double axe in his hand. Titus, despite his wound, crawls towards the wall with a bow. Gaius sees him, and for a moment hesitates between ordering him to retreat or letting him act. There is no time. The wall trembles. From the top of the tower, a Roman arrow hits one of the enemy leaders. He falls with a dry cry. The rest of the assailants stir but do not retreat. They just back off. Just enough. Gaius realizes too late. It was not an attack to conquer. It was to expose, to weaken, to measure the response, like a dagger that tastes flesh before it sinks. Over the course of an hour, the Germans retreat little by little. They leave bodies behind, but also a message. They are not afraid of Rome. At dawn, the dead are counted. 12 Romans fallen, 16 wounded, 3 towers damaged, a catapult destroyed. But the worst is not what you see. This is what is known now. The enemy is not just brave. He is disciplined, it's organized, and he wants total war. In the Forum, morale is at rock bottom. Some accuse Centurion Varro of not having reinforced in time. Others question the omens. Some look in the direction of Rome with mute rage. Why have they been left here, in the open of the world? Lucilla, while tending the wounds of a young soldier, whispers, "This is not a war on land. It is for the soul of Rome." Gaius locks himself in silence. He thinks about the decades he has lived on the border, in the times he has crossed rivers, mountains, deserts, in everything he has done for the empire, and he wonders if this will be the place where it all ends, not just its story, but the history of the Rome he knew. Later, while walking through the remains of the battle, he finds a German body with a tablet hanging from its neck. The inscription is in Latin. "We learned from you, now look." Gaius gives it to Varro. The centurion reads it and says nothing. He just breaks it in two and throws it into the fire. But the message has already penetrated. The next day, a new order arrives from the north. An entire legion will be moved to the border within a month. A late response, too late. As the men clean the blood from the walls, Gaius watches the forest in silence. He knows they will return, that every night will be a coin tossed in the air. That glory is an empty word when darkness hangs over you every evening, and yet he won't retire. Not for Rome, not for Varro, not even by the gods. He will do it for those who cannot flee, for the Titus, for the Lucillas, by the names on the pile of abandoned shields, because if Rome is going to fall, it will not fall without witnesses, and he will be one of them. Night falls once again over the camp. The torches burn brighter, not out of necessity, but out of fear. In his tent, Gaius cleans his gladius in silence. At his side, Titus sleeps with fever, and Lucilla watches, exhausted but firm. Outside, soldiers scan the walls, listening for noises that could be branches or footsteps. Nobody lets their guard down. Gaius sits by the fire, look to the sky and whisper a prayer to Jupiter, not to win the war, just to survive one more night. Because being a Roman soldier was not living between marble columns or parading. In the Colosseum, it was this: cold, hunger, death, and still resist. Tomorrow will be the same, or worse, but as long as only one remains, Rome will live. Not in the temples, not in the Senate, but in every soldier who, like Gaius, decides not to surrender. And in that flame that never goes out, Rome continues to burn.